if we even have a group of people, a significant group of people, a current in the white positive sphere who believe that any violence will yield a positive outcome for us, that is all the regimes throughout the West need to prosecute. Let me say that again, because this is important for all of you. And this is something that used to be well known in the cause. We used to have meetings where narcs and FBI agents and the like would show up at the meetings and they would suggest criminal activity. And people went to jail, not for engaging in criminal activity, but because they entertained the discussions. But you say, that's not fair, that's illegal. Oh, that's not what matters. What matters is, can the government go before that broad mass of white people and say to them, these people were plotting terrorism. Here's the kinds of things they were thinking about doing. This is what would have happened to you and your family had we not intervened. And if we don't put them away now, this kind of thing still may happen to your family. So all we need is for a large enough group of people to believe that there could be a positive yield from violence for our entire cause to be adversely affected, for the regimes in our countries to use that belief system as a casus belli to round us up. So when you're thinking about on your social media platforms and you think using VPNs and all of this other stuff, you're going to be safe, nonsense, hogwash, get real. You seriously think that the government of the United States and other Western powers can't look right into every single thing you're doing? Unless you are at their level of computing, they can know everything they want about you. And if you are entertaining discussions about a positive yield for violent outcomes, you have now exposed yourself to prosecution at every level in every Western government. Every single grand jury will happily indict you when they hear that you believe there could be a positive yield from violence. If you can't see that for yourself, or you can't see it now that I've outlined it, you are too blind to see anything. And there's no helping you. And please, if that's the case, please stop associating with us in the movement for white well-being. Please move off. Call yourself a Marxist, call yourself a leftist, call yourself anything, but get away from us. All of you, I strongly suggest to protect yourself, to keep yourself out of prison, to keep yourself out of being round up by one of these, this pretense that you see happen all the time in the West, where the anti-whites will go out and they'll just say, okay, this dozen people are going to be rounded up. It doesn't matter that you've done anything. Are our memories that short? Do you not remember in the 80s, FBI going to people's homes and finding bleach in their cabinet and a chain in their garage and a can of gas and arresting them for possible acts of terrorism? How much quicker do you think you will be arrested if you believe there'll be a positive yield from violence? Your head will spin. That's how fast. That's how fast they'll lock you up. So you're wasting time. You're making a fool of yourself. You're depriving the movement of the energy that you could be giving. And you're opening the door for these regimes, these anti-white regimes across the West to crush us. You're giving them all of the information they need to shut us down, to shut you down. So here's what I have to say to protect you, all of you out there. If you've already had these conversations with friends or family, you've been online and you said maybe there could be something positive from a civil war, or there would be, or maybe there could or would be something positive from an act of terrorism, some act of sabotage. Go back and repudiate it all. No good will come from any violence. No good will come from any violence that takes place in the name of white well-being. all of it will harm us. Every 5 feet of railroad you blow up, even the threat, every single one of these thoughts, every single one of these prospective acts will harm us. So do you hear that, potential DA? Do you hear that working at the FBI? Do you hear that working for Homeland Security? We here in the Cause for White Well-Being believe that every single act of violence and criminality will harm our cause. Not a single good thing will come from it. If you want to go shut people down, you go shut those folks down who are talking about terrorism. You go shut them down, but don't shut them down in the name of the right wing. Don't shut them down in the name of certainly not white well-being or Prometheanism. Shut them down in the name of their taking, and leave us to be. So I'll say in the past, the way we handled it in the past, when the narcs would show up at the meetings, or the FBI, local law enforcement would show up at the meetings, and they would say, well, why don't we do this criminal act or that criminal act? We would say this is how we began protecting ourselves, because the prisons were filling up with people who would just not say no to these folks. The prisons in the U.S. were filling up with political prisoners. What would we say to them? We would say, that's the last time you get the last warning. Never recommend violence or illegality again in our presence. And if you do, you'll never be allowed back. And you know what happened? A lot of those FBI agents never returned to our meetings. A lot of those narcs never came back because they knew that they weren't going to be able to trick us into a conversation about a speculation that they then put before a jury. And that, let me tell you what, before a jury, it's not going to sound like you were telling a joke. Before a jury, it's not going to sound like you were just speculating. Before a jury, it's not going to be good enough that you said, I've always renounced illegality and violence. Before a jury, before a judge, all that's going to matter is that you were entertaining the idea of violence yielding a positive outcome. That's all that's going to matter. And you know what I just did? I just saved an untold number of you from going to jail. That's what I just did. I just undermined a significant effort by the anti-whites. And every time you repeat the admonition that I just gave you, you will be doing the exact same thing. You will be undermining the anti-whites. You will be depriving them of a powerful tool for shutting us in our cause, our service to white well-being down. And you will be saving lives. Not just preventing people from going to jail. Because what happens very often, unless you decide you want to become a Nazi in prison, you'll find no safety. Very often, people who go to jail, who have our belief system, and who don't align with the Nazis in prison, they end up dying. So you want to do something grand? You want to take a physical step? You want to save lives? You want to prevent our people from going to jail? Take what you just heard and spread that at every message board. Take what I just told you about how the regimes in these countries will persecute us at all of these different levels, by all of these different ways. And you get those people to repeat those things, and you will have done an immense, heroic service for our people. Nothing could be more honorable than saving our people from the outcome that the anti-whites would like to inflict on us.